Hey and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's begin with our daily news. Arsenal would rather sell a £12 million player before Thomas Partey this summer. Arsenal would rather sell Jorginho before Thomas Partey this summer, as Mikel Arteta looks to improve his squad. That's according to journalist Graeme Bailey, who was speaking on the Talking Transfers podcast. Mikel Arteta looks to have big plans for Arsenal's midfield this summer. Declan Rice is their number one target, and two bids have already been rejected by West Ham. It looks like Rice will smash the club's record transfer, and a third bid is expected soon. After playing a key role for much of last season, the Gunners are open to Thomas Partey leaving this summer. Arsenal believe they could make a profit on the Ghanaian international after once believing he'd leave on a free transfer. However, Arsenal would rather Jorginho leave the club before Partey this summer. The Italian only joined in January from Chelsea for £12 million after injuries to Partey and Mohamed El-Neni. He performed admirably during the second half of the season, but he too has been linked with a move away. Talking about the Arsenal pair, Bailey said, "Of the two, I think they'd rather Jorginho went out of the door first, because if they were left with Partey, I don't think Arteta would be unhappy with that. Partey had a very good campaign last season. Jorginho came in and did his part. Thomas Partey would be a very useful option next season, even if he is no longer first choice. It would be a surprise for Declan Rice to arrive and not walk straight into the team. However, he could play in Granit Xhaka's role, as he also looks set to move on this summer. Arsenal could make more money from selling Partey, but he would be a more useful option than Jorginho next season." Arsenal will now listen to offers for 24-year-old. Arsenal are prepared to listen to offers for Eddie Nketiah this summer, as Mikel Arteta's men look to bolster their transfer kitty with player sales. That's according to a report from The Independent, which notes that Kieran Tierney, Thomas Partey and Folarin Balogun could also leave the Emirates in this window. It may be surprise some to see Eddie Nketiah facing an uncertain future in North London. Of course, it was only last year that the striker signed a new contract after it appeared that he had been on the brink of leaving. Nketiah saw plenty of game time last season. However, that was largely down to the serious injury Gabriel Jesus sustained during the World Cup. The 24-year-old did a fairly decent job, scoring some important goals as Arsenal pushed for the Premier League title, but it would appear that the Gunners are not going to stand in his way if a significant offer comes in. According to The Independent, Nketiah is one of the players Arsenal will listen to bids for. It's noted that the Gunners are willing to let the players go strengthen their budget. It would be a surprise if Arsenal were prepared to lose both Nketiah and Balogun in this window. David Ornstein now says all indications are that frightening Arsenal man will be sold. Journalist David Ornstein believes all indications suggest that Arsenal forward Folarin Balogun will be sold this summer. The Athletic journalist shared more details on the 24-year-old's future. Mikel Arteta has some big decisions to make before the start of next season. His Arsenal side outperformed expectations last season as they pushed Manchester City all the way in the Premier League. Although they came away from the season without any silverware, there were some very encouraging signs. Arsenal looks set to spend big to build on the success of the last campaign. Declan Rice and Kai Havertz appear to be Arteta's main transfer target this summer, but they won't be cheap. In order to balance the books, the Gunners will have to move a few players on. Thomas Partey has been linked with an exit, with the clubs from Saudi Arabia considering a move. Ernestine has said that Folarin Balogun could follow him out of the door at Arsenal too. The forward has no interest in sitting on the bench next season, but it might be easier said than done breaking into this Arsenal team. Asked about the 21-year-old forward, Ornstein said, "All indications are that Folarin Balogun will be sold this summer. He is out of contract in 2025, and The Athletic has reported that he doesn't intend to sign a new deal or go out on loan again. He wants to be first choice somewhere." He goes on to say that it's unlikely he will be first choice at the Emirates due to Gabriel Jesus and Eddie Nketiah. Ornstein believes only an unexpected twist would see Balogun stay at Arsenal, with interest coming from across Europe. The frightening forward was on fire in France last season, scoring 21 goals for Stade Reims. Given Arsenal could make a decent fee from Balogun, it makes sense to cash in now, given his stock is so high. Title winners want £50 million player, but he is only interested in signing for Arsenal. Jurriën Timber has now set his sights on only moving to Arsenal this summer, with the Gunners keen to agree a contract until 2028 with the defender. That's according to a report from The Telegraph, which claims that Arsenal are expected to reach an agreement with Ajax for the 22-year-old. The speculation surrounding Jurriën Timber seems to have ramped up rapidly in recent days. The Athletic reported on Monday night that a £30 million bid had been made by Arsenal that had been rejected, with Ajax holding out for £50 million. Reports from The Telegraph then noted that Timber had almost agreed personal terms with the Gunners, and Ajax boss was now resigned to losing him. The Telegraph now reports that Timber only has his eyes for moving to Arsenal. Bayern München are also interested in the youngster. However, he does not want to join the Bavarian Giants, particularly after seeing former Ajax players struggle for game time in the Bundesliga. That is obviously very good news for Arsenal, but the onus is now on the Gunners to make sure that they now reach an agreement with Ajax. It appears to be a move that all parties are prepared for, and it's an exciting statement that Timber only wants to join Arsenal despite potential interest from Bayern München. The Gunners are still a work in progress. Meanwhile, Bayern go into every season as heavy favorite to clinch the Bundesliga title, so most players would find it difficult to turn down the club. But Timber obviously sees moving to Arsenal as the right next step in his career, and Gunners fans will hope that it's not too long now before he completes his move. Fabrizio Romano says Barcelona are favourites to sign £62 million Arsenal target. Arsenal have been linked with a move to sign Manchester City star Joao Cancelo this summer, but Barcelona are said to be the favourites to get him. The Gunners seem really active in this summer's transfer window. Moves have already been made for Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and Jurriën Timber, while Romeo Lavia is also said to be a concrete target. Cancelo was also heavily linked with a move to Arsenal recently, but Fabrizio Romano has claimed on count of side that the Gunners aren't the favourites, Barcelona are. One of the biggest reasons why Arsenal were so good last season was the signings of Manchester City old boys Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko. The two former Premier League winners completely changed the mentality at Arsenal. They instantly made them title challengers, and that's probably why Mikel Arteta is keen to bring in another player or two from the Etihad. Ilkay Gundogan is reportedly one of them, while Cancelo is the other. The Portuguese defender is available now after Bayern München turned down their £62 million option to sign him permanently. Arsenal seemed really keen to sign Cancelo, and Romano has now confirmed that talks took place between the Gunners and the Manchester City star's agent. However, the journalist claims Barcelona are in the driving seat right now. He said, I am aware that some fans are asking me why it's gone a bit quiet on the Joao Cancelo story. All I can say for the time being is that Cancelo is one of the players appreciated by Arsenal, and there have been talks between the club and the player's agent, but Barcelona are the favourites. Journalists suggest Arsenal will go for a £12 million midfielder even if they sign Declan Rice. Arsenal are in the market for multiple midfielders this summer. The Gunners' pursuit of Declan Rice has been in the news every single day, while over the past 24 hours, it's been reported that the North London club are making a push to sign Romeo Lavia too. Of course, when any club is chasing two players in the same position, it's fair to assume that the deals are dependent on one another. In this case, one may think that Rice is a plan A and Lavia is a plan B. However, according to Fabrizio Romano, that's not the case. Indeed, The Italian journalist claims that the moves for Rice and Lavia are not linked, suggesting that Arsenal will go for both players regardless of what happens with the parallel deal. This is very exciting to hear if you are an Arsenal fan. Indeed, there is a chance that the Gunners line up with a midfield of Rice and Lavia next season, and that is mouth-watering to say the least. They are both incredible players who could be key for Arsenal over the next decade. We all know what Rice is about, but Lavia is another player with an incredibly high ceiling who could be a star. At the age of just 19, he's made a huge impact on the Premier League, and while he may not be quite ready yet to be a starter for Arsenal, when you are signing a player like this, you are signing a player for the future. There is a reason Southampton signed him for £12 million before he'd ever made a Premier League appearance, and now it stands to reason to believe the Saints will make a massive profit on the player. Lavia could be a star for Arsenal for years to come. Journalists very optimistic about Arsenal signing very good finisher this summer. Arsenal don't seem to be making the progress they want to make on the Declan Rice deal. Bids have gone in this week, and those bids have been rejected, but it appears as though the Gunners are undeterred. In their approach. Some are getting worried that this deal isn't headed in the right direction, but speaking on the Highbury Squad YouTube channel, Tom Canton has noted that he is still personally very optimistic that this deal will happen. The very good finisher is clearly Arsenal's top target, and Canton still thinks Rice will ultimately end up at Arsenal. Canton shared what he knows about Arsenal. Months of work has gone on behind the scenes in this Declan Rice deal, and he wants to join Arsenal. His preference is Arsenal. If Arsenal can't do this deal, it would be a massive hit to the reputation of the likes of Edu. I am not in the camp of thinking that will happen. I am personally very optimistic about the Rice deal, but I can't sit here and pretend it wouldn't be a disaster if it didn't happen. Arsenal's first bids may not have been accepted by West Ham, but this is still looking good for the Gunners. Indeed, we have seen a number of reports stating that Rice wants to join the club, and as Canton says, his preference is still a move to Arsenal. Whether or not Arsenal do stamp up the necessary cash for Rice remains to be seen, but the fact that two club record bids have been submitted so far is a positive sign. Rice could well end up at Arsenal, but the Gunners do need to get their acts together and stamp up the money if they want to tie this one up. Arsenal close to transfer agreement for Chelsea's Kai Havertz. Arsenal are close to an agreement with Chelsea to sign forward Kai Havertz for a fee in the region of £65 million. The clubs are now working to finalize the structure of the impending deal, including potential installment and add-ons, but personal terms are in place and, if all goes to plan, a medical will be scheduled ahead of the transfer being completed. The Athletic reported last week that Arsenal had made an opening proposal to recruit Havertz. Chelsea need to trim their squad, not just to offset past spending, but also to fund signings in this window. Last season, Havertz predominantly operated as a striker for Chelsea and scored 9 goals in 47 appearances across all competitions. It's reckoned Havertz will be paid £200,000 a week at the Emirates. Arsenal moved quickly to prepare a contract, with Chelsea equally keen on a swift sale, and Havertz is now set to become the 14th player to start for both sides in England's top flight. The German joined Chelsea from Bayer Leverkusen for an initial £62 million in 2020. Havertz went on to score 32 goals in 139 games while winning the Champions League. A lot of Arsenal fans will probably be pleased if Havertz does end up being the club's first signing this summer. The German international is obviously a huge name who will not need any time to adapt to the Premier League. They will also be pinching him from their London rivals, so you would imagine that this is the kind of transfer business that will be getting the thumbs up from supporters. I will be uploading daily Arsenal news, so keep your eyes on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Peace out.